Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Jordan One Take 2. So they're calling it the Jordan One Take 2. It was called the Westbrook One Take, but now it's just the Jordan One Take. I don't know why they changed it, because this is Russell Westbrook's budget shoe and it's going for $100, which is pretty damn cheap. His signature shoe is going for 130 bucks. The Westbrook One Take, the original one, the first one was really nice. It was a banger. And is the Westbrook One Take 2 a better performer than that? We'll have to see on that. But if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the Tracciones, and the Tracciones was not good, guys. It was pretty inconsistent. I would slide out a good amount a lot of the times on a hard lateral movement, which is not a good thing. You don't really want to be sliding out at all. So that kind of sucked. I mean, if you're kind of just shooting around or you don't do like hard lateral movements, you should be okay. Like if you have that Russell Westbrook kind of play style where you just go straight to the rack, you should be fine. But if you're doing a lot of shifty moves, lots of crossovers, step backs, lots of cuts, this probably isn't the best outsole for you. We have a little bit of a combination of patterns, I guess. You know, we have some like line nub things for the white outsole, and of course outlining the zoom unit here in the forefoot, we got a little bit of herringbone, and the durability is not the best. You know, here in the high wear areas we can clearly see that the nubs are ripping off. I wouldn't say it's terrible, and I wouldn't say it's as bad as the Why Not 0.4, but it's still not the best. And I guess the herringbone is very durable, and that is a high wear area here in the forefoot. You know, it's more toward the ball of your foot, but that's okay as long as it's durable. Like around this area it should be fine. Here in the heel, it's still ripping off. So yeah, durability, I mean, the occasional outdoor use should be okay, but not the best idea. So yeah, not the best traction. I mean, the original Westbrook One Take was really good, very consistent, and had a great bite. The One Take 2, I don't know what they did, but the bite was very inconsistent, so I was a little disappointed in that. All right, as far as the heel to toe transition goes, overall it's pretty smooth. You know, you got a nice curved or rounded shape here in the heel, a pretty curved shape here in the forefoot. I would say it's a little bit flatter than I'm kind of used to, or I guess that I like or prefer, but that's okay. And then you have a good amount of forefoot flex, so heel to toe transition is pretty smooth. The only thing is though, here in the heel is there's not a whole lot of heel compression. I guess we'll segue right into cushion, and the cushion is not good, right? So this foam, I mean, as you guys know, Jordan Brand usually does their Phylon midsoles very nicely. You know, they soften it up. They usually have a little bit of compression. It's slightly soft most of the time, but in this model it's just not that nice. I mean, there's a little bit of compression, but I mean, the rubber outsole does come up the cage, the midsole, a little bit, and it's just not that nice. You know, even on heel strikes, my heel would hurt a good amount, so impact protection wasn't the best. Like I mentioned, there is a forefoot zoom unit that is top loaded, but to be honest, it's not that nice. You know, I can feel it just a little bit. And like, even comparing it to, okay, so comparing it to the Why Not 0.4, it has like no bounce. You know, the Why Not 0.4 double stacked forefoot zoom in is just insane. But like comparing it to, like, you know, even the PG3 or the Converse G4, it just didn't really have a nice little bounce. You know, I could feel just a little bit of compression even though it's top loaded, so that kind of sucks. Court feel, I would say, is also not the best. I mean, there is a very high offset. Here in the heel, you're pretty high up off the ground. Here in the forefoot, you're very low to the ground, so you feel that offset, which feels nice. You know, it kind of keeps you on your toes, especially with this curved shape here in the forefoot. But that kind of offset makes it so that even if the court feel is good here in the forefoot, it doesn't feel like the lowest. You know what I'm saying? So the cushioning setup, it definitely didn't like blow me away, and I didn't really like it all too much. All right, as far as the materials go, okay, so the materials they're using, pretty much a shit mesh, and in my first impressions, I was like, oh, it's not that bad, you know. But then like playing it and all that, I learned to not like it. So first of all, it feels really crappy on foot. It's that cheap light feeling, and that's why I don't like shit mesh. I wish companies would never use this. You know, the Nike patented shit mesh Jordan Brand is using here in the One Take 2. It just feels really crappy, you know. Although it is thin and I guess breathable, and I guess it is soft, but I don't know, there's just something about it that I don't like. It's just that cheap, like really crappy feeling on foot, you know what I'm saying, especially here in the forefoot. So I didn't really like that. We have a lot of fuse overlays and a lot of exposed stitching. Here in the tongue, we have an oversized tongue, which feels nice. It's independent, And there's a little bit of padding, which makes the overall like midfoot area more cozy and a little bit more comfortable. And then here in the ankle area, there's actually not a lot of padding, especially here on the sides. The sides have very, very minimal padding. Most of the padding is where your Achilles is, like in the back of the heel. That feels pretty nice. But the overall materials, I mean, if you don't mind chit mesh and you know, you're like, okay, it's a thin, soft material, then that's fine. But I mean, that's usually how I am, you know, like I don't really mind the materials all too much as long as it's thin, supportive and soft, you know, and it conforms to your foot very well. I mean, it does all of that, but like it still feels really crappy for me, and I just didn't like how it felt all too much on foot, you know. So there's that. As far as the fit goes true to size. It runs a little long, but I don't think going down half a size would fix that, because if you went down half a size, or if I went down half a size, I feel like it'll be too short. So true to size, you should be good. Width-wise, I would say it's around normal. And then here in the toe box, okay, so at first it was kind of snug, right? But then like this chit mesh, it's not very supportive, and it stretches out because it's like it's a really thin material. So over time, when you like break it in, you keep playing in it, the fit gets a little bit roomier. So I don't really like it as much now. I mean, if you like a roomier fit in your shoes, that's good for you. But if you like a snug fit, I'll probably suggest looking elsewhere. One thing I like about this shoe though is that it has a high heel tab, so it's very easy to put on. You just slide your foot in, tighten up the laces, and you're good to go. All right, moving on to support and lockdown, and that was my biggest issue in this shoe, right? So for lateral containment was good, but not good, okay? So if you see here on the lateral side, you have a good amount of things like counteracting your movement, you know, for lateral movements, you know, crossovers and stuff like that, right? So here in the midfoot, you got this like plastic thing coming up. Here in the forefoot, you got this fused material. Here in the heel, you got the foam coming up and an internal TPU heel counter. So okay, that's fine. Like in my first impressions, I thought it was gonna be good, but this shit mesh is so soft and not supportive at all that it just moves. Like, you guys see that? You guys see how it like kind of rolls over on itself? So also, like at first it was okay, but then like as the material broke in and got a little bit roomier as far as the fit goes, my foot was just moving around in the shoe a little bit more, you know? So that with the material being super soft and rolling around on itself, my foot was moving around in the footbed. Like if you look at the footage, my foot isn't really coming out of the footbed, but it's moving around inside the shoe. And it's not because it's like a wide fit or anything, because I mean, it doesn't feel like wide, you know. My foot is pretty much right there, you know. There's not a whole lot of space for width, so it's just I felt the material moving around. It just wasn't good for lateral containment. And the overall materials here, I feel like they should have gone with something else instead of this shit mesh, you know, just in my personal opinion. So lateral containment, I mean, I'm a light guy and I'm a smaller guy on the court usually. So if you're a bigger dude and you do a lot of lateral movements and you need support, stay away from the shoe. But like I said, if you're like Russell Westbrook and you go straight to the rack, then you should be fine. As far as lateral stability goes, that's also another thing that's not the best, right? So in Westbrook's line, like in the 0.2, 0.3, and even the 0.4, it's not the widest base. And if you guys see here in the One Take 2, there's really no outrigger, and the outsole and the midsole doesn't really protrude out all too much. So it's not the widest base, right? For example, like the Create, it's a super wide base. You have a little bit of an outrigger, right? It like protrudes out, and you're very low to the ground as far as the cushion goes. Comparing that to the One Take 2, do you guys see how like narrow the One Take 2 is? That's like 2-3 centimeters, like around 2 centimeters, I would say, right? So it wasn't the most laterally stable shoe. So like, I mean, I didn't feel like I was gonna roll my ankle or anything, but it just didn't feel like as stable as I would like. So if you have problems with your ankles, then you should probably look somewhere else for your shoe. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe, it's probably gonna be super light. Yeah, so 11.32 ounces, super light, and it's that cheap light feeling, you know, for $100, it is a budget shoe. And yeah, I mean, it feels very light, very minimal on foot, but like I keep saying, it's that cheap light, you know, like because of the lack of technology in this shoe and just because the lack of quality of materials, it feels lighter, you know. So I mean, you get that a lot in like cheaper shoes, you know. Normally cheaper shoes are lighter because they're using like crappier materials and it doesn't have a lot of tech in it. So that's what this shoe feels like to me. If you don't mind that, like cheaper feel from your shoe, you should be fine, because it is a light shoe and it's a minimal shoe. But just keep in mind, it's not gonna feel like the best, you know? As far as ventilation goes, ventilation is really, really good. Like I keep saying, the shit mesh, you know, there's a lot of airflow. So if you blow through it, you can feel the airflow. So ventilation is really good. As far as the aesthetics go, I really like it. You know, whoever designed it did a very, very good job. But the material choice, I feel like, was the issue in this shoe, right? Like, I feel like if they, I don't know, put like a jacquard or like a textile material, kind of like similar to the Anta GH2, it would have been a lot better. But anyways, yeah, so the aesthetics I feel like are really nice, and I feel like it looks way better than the signature shoe, the Why Not 0.4. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, it's gonna be a no for me. The traction was inconsistent, cushion was not that nice, materials were really crappy, and usually I don't really care about materials. Fit was okay, support also wasn't that good. So it's really hard for me to recommend it, you know. The only reason I would recommend it is maybe if it goes on sale for like a big ass sale and it's available for like 50-60 bucks and you're trying to get a really cheap shoe, then you should be fine. But to be honest, there's still like better options, you know, for like that type of price. So yeah, I really didn't enjoy the shoe. It was a pretty big disappointment to me, especially comparing to the original Westbrook One Take, because the Westbrook One Take was so nice, and then this came along and it's like, it's not that nice, right? So pretty much stay away from this shoe if you can. But anyways, that about concludes my review for the Jordan One Take 2. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.